Welcome and joining me for Java. This is July 15th, 2025. It is also Tuesday. Couple of puns here because we're going to show a little bit of what we're covering. Are you serious after what's happened last night over in Syria, of course, and Putin being terrified? Now, I am joined this morning by a special little guy here. His name's Labubu. He has caused pop market shares to go up over 300%. Amazing little monster dude. I'm not even sure quite what he is, but let's get started as always with what's going on in the United States markets. So, fear greed meter still 76. Extreme greed driving these markets. So, this morning we are still up slightly, not the record breaking runs that have made massive moves, but looking for the inflation numbers coming out a bit later. We're getting CPI, core inflation. So, the futures also looking a bit slight green with this. So, overall, markets are trending still in that upward move. We've got a 10-year yield coming down only slightly, which does lend a boost to the markets, the equities, as well as strength of the dollar dropping slightly. Now, this is relative strength, but actually in relation to some of the other currencies, it is not dropping as much as it seems. We've got cryptocurrencies back down, Bitcoin below 117,000. It still hit record highs, and we're watching what this does at these levels, whether it will fall back below its support or whether it's going to consolidate here for a bit before it makes another record run. We've got those crypto laws. This is crypto week. We'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end of cover cryptocurrency at the end. So, as these futures are saying at the moment, there is still a bit of strength in the market, although not a lot of volume. So silver fell down a little bit. This is kind of safety play along with gold. So kind of grinding out a little bit, not massively um, convicted one way or another. So daily driver is slight, meaning it's kind of grinding out, not one severe move one way or another. We are watching CPI numbers go over the calendar in a bit. Core price inflation. Now, Trump terrifies Putin and lends arms to Ukraine. Now, this is the major announcement that he came out with, is in short, through NATO, will be providing long-range weapons to Europe. So this is kind of a direct threat to Russia and kind of a push in order to make them to make a deal with Ukraine. Now, we know that the war must continue because it's definitely a war economy. Now, more about that in a moment. We've got United States Treasury reports of this surprise surplus. We know this is all of the front loading. Now, this ties into now with China. Their numbers were the best in June they've had in a long time, but they're still showing weakness behind that. So the economy, global economy, dropping a bit, and we're still watching these trade deals. This morning, we've got big bank earnings. And I've got a fundamental shift here because they're all talking about not just how they've gone on traditionally, but a lot of their forward earnings are pricing in the shift to the cryptocurrencies, stable coins mostly, because cryptocurrencies are going to be outside of their system in reality. We've got bonds also showing some serious movement, in particular, watching the Japanese. So their 10-year yield is spiking, highest since 2008. If you don't, that number year doesn't ring a bell. It was the great financial crisis. So we're keeping an eye on Japanese bond yields this morning because that could signal something. Now, at the same time, they've got an election this week as well, and that could kind of shift things if they decide to take a different stance with their policy on these. So going along with this and the Treasury report of a supply surplus and the arms to Ukraine, we've got investor confidence in Germany's economy improved in July. Now, they've got the right report for the wrong reason. They're saying the investor confidence is improved. That's true. But they are saying it's highlighting a resilience in the face of United States tariff threats. Well, quite the opposite. What has happened is that the defense sector, Rheinmetall, has taken over a lot of their manufacturing. And the numbers that they're showing that are improving this are what this confidence is built on. So, in short, it's a build of confidence on the continuance of war and their defense spending. Now, there are 3 countries that are showing massive debt increase this past year: Germany on the defense spending, the United States, and Japan. So with this, let's go forward. We've got our calendar looking at the core CPI. We've got Fed presidents talking, but nobody really cares what they say anymore unless they're making a rate decision. So I didn't bother putting them here because they're not going to, the fundamental moves that they make are not significant for this unless they're speaking about a rate cut. Now, we've still got the crypto week going on that I brought up yesterday. The United States is, in short, putting together 3 pieces of legislation that are forming what is happening with cryptocurrency moving forward. So the Clarity Act, the anti-CBDC, and the Genius, I'll go over a little bit of what's in those later. Now, JP Morgan, they just came out with their earnings and they have beat their earnings. They're doing really well, of course. Mega Bank making earnings on not just the interest, but also their holdings. So doing quite well. We'll hear from Wells Fargo and Citi in a bit. Cat bond sales record. I spoke about these before. Now, cat bond is short for catastrophe bond. In short, this is insurance. How they have boosted the prices for insurance across the board with all of the disasters that are going on that they're seeing, environmentally caused. Regardless of that, they have boosted their profits by widespread fee increases, even though that is putting pressure on the housing market. Now, as I brought my little friend here, Labubu with PopMart, this is still showing discretionary spending. They're saying it's a little bit of stress spending. So I found that a bit interesting that it is a shift. They're calling it the lipstick effect, that people purchase these things to make themselves feel better in times of economic distress. So not sure about that, but that's a little key here. We've got Apple. Now, Apple is making a major investment with MP, which is a rare earth minerals company, as well as Samsung Tech. Now, they're, in short, going forward with Samsung Tech of a creaseless foldable phone. So they are looking at improving their company. They're in terrible shape at the moment. But with these 2, there could be a possible turnaround, as well as a couple of other things that they're looking into on the horizon. So keeping Apple in the crosshairs. On other news, we've got H2O chips from NVIDIA. This is their lower grade artificial intelligence. They're now being allowed to sell these to China. They're kind of rolling back these restrictions, and that's going to give a boost to NVIDIA. Now, CoreWeave, as we head this direction, CoreWeave is spending $6 billion in a Pennsylvania data center. And I'll show you a picture of that in a moment. So if you're in this area, it's Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where they intend to increase the size of these as well as build more. If you're in this area, move now. Look into this. Look what's happened with some of these data centers, the meta data centers, and what happens to the environment surrounding them will bring down your values, and not a very good thing to live next to. Now, we've got Ericsson warning on a slowing growth. Now, they're talking about the tariffs. They are just another version outside of Europe, taking a third-party view, and with Asia's slowdown. So they're calling for a slowdown in the economy. Now, back to this data center, because I wanted to bring this up. Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, saying that they're going to spend hundreds of billions of dollars. Now, we're talking $6 billion for CoreWeave. This is the digital reality data center in Ashburn, Virginia. So this is a relatively smaller one. Now, these tax the water resources as well as the environment surrounding it. So he's talking about pouring hundreds of billions of dollars building several massive data centers. If they're going to build one near you, you have to leave. This is backed by the government, so any opinions that I have about this or any concerns are going to be washed over. Just to warn you now, this is how they work, and going forward, they will put these projects forward. So we've got Syria signing 800 million Tartus port deal with a Dubai-based company. Bringing this up because they are keying in not just ports, shipping, imports, exports, but also becoming cryptocurrency center, if you will, and artificial intelligence. Now they've added this in. They are looking at expanding NEOM again, and they've got their fund. So massive things happening through Dubai and Syria keying in with them. There's a lot of things going on in the background, and all of a sudden there are some breakouts of unrest going on there. They are linked. It's not a coincidence. Last thing I wanted to talk about, because I think this is important and it ties in with cryptocurrency bills that they're signing into law now. Now, Raman Storm, if you're not familiar with who he is, he pretty much built TornadoCrush. And the whole idea of this was that it could be, as it says here, non-custodial, trustless, permissionless, and unstoppable. Now, he didn't want KYC, stands for Know Your Customer. This is all of the kind of Orwellian, getting your data in, tracking all of your spending. And so there were a few things that happened. They're blaming him for, in short, some hackers that had happened, that he didn't track these. And if this happens, then what this means is that anyone that builds any of these or works outside of the system could be held accountable for this, sued, put on this trial, even jailed. Now, this is directly from the bills that I was talking about that they're looking at passing for this week. Language from two of those, saying that they want to add in that an individual's right to maintain a hardware wallet for the purpose of facilitating the individual's lawful custody of digital assets. So they should not have to put that in there. You should just have the right to own a wallet in order to own your own assets, whether it's your wallet for your physical dollars, whether it's a wallet for your cryptocurrencies or your digital assets. This infringement is something to be very clearly aware of. And then also, if you want to look up Roman Storm and stay abreast of what happens with this, because it could have a significant impact down the road for freedom for all of us. So with this, I wish you all a wonderful day. If you're going to be in the markets, wish you a green day. And until I see you again, my friends, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for keeping the strength and resist.